Portugal bets all on renewables. As the UN steps up calls to make the switch to renewable energy to fight the global climate emergency, Portugal is among the first European Union countries to abandon coal. Amid the energy crisis, some countries have reversed their decision to close coal-fired plants, but not Portugal. Portugal is aiming to increase its wind power and solar capacity, but it remains heavily dependent on fossil fuels, which accounted for 71% of its energy mix in 2020. The government wants green solutions to provide 80% of the country's energy by 2026. Portugal is one of a handful of EU member states, along with Belgium and Sweden, to have renounced coal as an energy source. Record wave of renewable energy investments. A new report shows investments in renewable energy are set to be higher than fossil fuels in 2022, due to soaring electricity prices. Capital investment in renewables worldwide is set to outstrip oil and gas spending on new projects by almost $50 billion this year. Analysts say high spot electricity prices, particularly in Europe, are rewriting the utility wind and solar investment narrative as potential investment, putting extra shine on renewables energy economics. The rise in clean energy spending is occurring primarily in advanced economies, while in some markets, energy security concerns and high prices are prompting higher investment in fossil fuel supplies. EU saved €11 billion in gas imports thanks to solar and wind. Solar and wind power have produced a quarter of EU electricity since March 2022, allowing to avoid 70 billion cubic meters of gas imports. Despite sky-high prices, 20% of EU electricity production still came from natural gas between March and September 2022, accounting for €82 billion in costs, according to the report. 19 European governments have increased the ambition of their decarbonization strategy, with some of them planning to generate close to all electricity from renewables by 2030. Global carbon emissions from burning fossil fuels are still rising, but at a slower pace. The analysis came amid fears that emissions reductions could be put on the back burner as countries face the ripple effects of rising inflation in the war in Ukraine. But any growth in emissions was largely kept in check by rapid build-out of renewable energy and electric vehicles. Growth of solar and wind power in 2022 likely averted about 600 million extra tons of CO2 emissions, the report found. Much of 2021's rise was a bounce back from 2020, when overall fossil fuel emissions fell nearly 4%, driven down largely by the COVID-19 pandemic. Australia pledges multi-billion-dollar renewable energy projects. They have for the first time a legislated target to cut greenhouse gas output that aims to reduce carbon emissions by 43% by 2030. Coal and gas still generate most of its electricity. The nation of 25 million people has been one of the world's worst per capita emitters of greenhouse pollution. Their renewable energy sector is growing. It accounted for 32.5% of the country's total electricity generation in 2021, an increase of almost 5% compared to 2020. Solar is Australia's largest source of green power. The renewable energy mix includes large-scale hydropower facilities and wind farms.